Hi there, my name is Henry Tenby. I'd like to welcome you to this video. This is Model Moment. In this show, I'm going to be presenting to you some of the Lufthansa Airlines professional aircraft display models that I have in my collection. I do realize that many of the collectors out there in the space of the internet have a lot more Lufthansa models than I own in my collection, but that's okay. I still like my models, and I think they are worthy of showing in this video. I've been collecting these models pretty much for the last 40 years, and the models that I'm about to show date from the period of the 1960s to the 1980s. Lufthansa was a very keen purchaser of aircraft display models for presentation at travel agencies and in their corporate offices, and I think all of these models basically fit that description. That is what they were used for back in the day. So let's get on with the show. So we're going to start off with a real crowd pleaser. This is the biggest Lufthansa model in my collection. It's a 1/50th scale Boeing 707 with registration DABO Zulu. And this model was made by Verkuyl. It's made of metal. The wings remove. They're on posts that plug into the fuselage. And this is a model that was made, I believe, for presentation at every single Lufthansa ticket office in the late 1960s and early 1970s, before the era of the Boeing 747. When the 747 came out, they then produced 747 models, and these became, I would say, secondary. But this model is super accurate. As I say, it's made by Verkuyl of the Netherlands. He was one of the most accurate makers of metal aircraft display models back in the 1960s. So what a beautiful, beautiful model. We don't have any saggy wings. The wings are totally level on this model. It measures about 37 inches nose to tail, and the wingspan is about 35 inches. I've owned a number of these models over the last 30 odd years, and this was the very best condition one that I ever owned. Others were, they had yellowing, lots of chips on them, just tape marks. They were just a lot more banged up than this model. But this model, although not perfect, it does have some chips. It overall presents as certainly one of the nicest of these types of models that I have ever had the pleasure of owning in my collection. So I know that Lufthansa had this model made in the, I would call this the late 1960s colors, and in the, I would say, mid-1960 colors, where they had the older version of the Lufthansa logo on the tail. The fuselage, cheat line, and titles really didn't change. It was just the tail that they went from a white tail to a solid blue tail. But the vast majority of these models that are out there are, as you see here, with the blue tails. So I really like the model, and I hope that I can maybe... Here's some detail work that I can show you on this model. We've got the registration, very nice, very straight and level placement of the cheat line, and you can see the engraving of the door. Just totally accurate, super accurate model, and you can see the pins underneath. There's Allen keys that can lock those wings into place. I haven't actually tightened them up, but it could be done. So, yeah, as I say, just giving you a bit of a nice tour of this model so you can have a look at it in all its glorious splendor, and look at the leading edge detail there as well, and the German flag on the tail. It's all nice and accurate as to the real airplane. Just so you can see how the wings come off on this model. I'm trying to do this with one hand. It's kind of difficult. No, it won't work. As you can see, I just wanted to show you how there's a post there, and these actually slide on and off the post and lock into the fuselage. So I just wanted to show that to you. It's a very nice model that I picked up. It's a vintage wooden model. Of course, the livery is not accurate. This airplane dates from the 1930s. They did not have the 1950s post-war German flag on the tail. But this is I believe it's a Junkers F-13, they call it. And it's a handmade wooden model. I don't know who made the model and when it was made, but it has some nice detail to it, that's for sure. There's some clear windows. I'm going to repaint the model into period Canadian Pacific Airlines livery. That's why I bought the model, just because it has a Canadian connection as well. But as you can see, it's a very accurate model and something you don't see very often, you know, very nice detail. I don't know if this was a kit or it's completely hand fabricated by a master model maker who made all the parts and fabricated the metal gear and the tail, etc. But as you can see, the finish on the model is less than desirable, and the Lufthansa markings, although they are Lufthansa markings, we've got post-war Lufthansa decals on this, and it just looks well, it's not accurate. But I did want to share the model with you. I'm not sure what scale it is. Maybe it's 1/32, or maybe it's 1/50th scale. It's very possible that it's 1/50th scale, but I just like the way it was constructed with the clear fuselage and the details, the antenna strut, the exhaust strut there on top of the engine, and it's just quite a nice, accurate model. I got this from a Dutch collector actually. He had it for sale at the Amsterdam Aviation Fair for years, maybe 10 years, a long time. He had this model for sale and nobody ever purchased it. I liked it, and we did a deal, and I bought it a couple years ago, and it's now in my collection. But I think the accurate painting for the model is not gray. It needs to be painted silver. And then, of course, it could be in Lufthansa livery or Canadian Pacific Airlines livery. So I hope you enjoy looking at this neat model. It's quite unique. So here we have a 1/100th scale metal Verkuyl 707 in the mid-1960s delivery scheme. Notice the registration, ABOZ. It's the same registration as our 1/50th model. So this model is 1/100th scale, smaller scale, of course. As you can see, it measures, what, about 20 inches by 20 inches, something like that. This one is in really quite nice condition for its age. He didn't put the high frequency antenna on the top, but still, you know, there's the rudder, the under fuselage rudder. You've got the forward and aft cutouts around the emergency or the doors there, and the sheet line is put on totally dead straight. And you've got your indentation, your flap detail on the back of the wing here. This area, you've got the detail. And as is standard in Verkuyl models, they would have a template that they would use to scratch or etch the lines for the flaps and spoilers on the wing surfaces. That's pretty much a Verkuyl trademark feature, is having these engraved surfaces, as well as the engraved cargo doors and door outlines as well. They're engraved. So quite a nice model. Again, these were produced in, I would say, large quantities for the day. They are readily available. You can find them. They show up on various websites and marketplaces on an ongoing basis. And it's really about finding one that's in really quite nice condition that you can proudly display in your collection. So, but if you're a 707 lover, this is kind of as perfect as it gets for 1/100th scale. Look at the engines. Look how accurate the engines are. They're very accurate. The base is original to the model. That is the original Verkuyl base. They would I guess Lufthansa wanted these round black bases, and that was the style of base that persisted on most of the 1/100th scale Verkuyl models that were delivered to Lufthansa in the 1960s and 1970s. So yeah, this is really nice model. Give you an underside view of it. Isn't that neat? It look, you know, so classic, right? Beautiful classic lines of the Boeing 707. It's wonderful. We have a 1/200th scale Pacific Miniatures Pac-Min Lufthansa 747-400. I would guess that this model dates from the mid-1990s, and I picked this up at an airline collectible show in Germany several years ago. Unfortunately, the other side is not in as great condition. I need to get a replacement decal made for the Lufthansa there, which is on my list of things to do. And I might actually sand off all of the decals on this side and just put on a new set that hasn't yellowed. That's pretty easy to do. You just wet sand. You can easily wet sand these decals and just remove them. So that's on my list of things to do. Of course, the neat thing about this model is that these aircraft are still in service in the year 2025. I flew on them as recently as about 6 months ago, Vancouver to Frankfurt. And I guess they're going to be in service until the 777X goes into service, whenever that may be. It's vastly delayed by years and years, and Lufthansa is not too happy with the proceedings. So they're keeping the A340s and the 747s in service until such time that the Boeing 777X with the folding wingtips can be delivered. So there you have it. 747-400 Pacific Miniatures. It's an original Pac-Man model. It doesn't actually say it. Oh yeah, sorry, my correction. This is made by Space Models of London, England. I am wrong. This is a Space Models production. So I was calling it Pac-Man, when in fact it is made in England, not made in the United States. So, but I think Pac-Man and Space Models had very similar blanks. You know, they've got the engraved wing surfaces, highly accurate, made from their original engineering drawings, so they are about as accurate as they can be in all scales. And Space Models and Pac-Man, obviously they did this scale, which is 1/200th, and they also did 1/100th scale as well. Those models are out there, and I have owned them, so quite nice. While we're on the topic of 1/200th scale 747s, these were made, this is a 1/200th scale, and these were made, I believe, in the 1970s by an Italian company. I can show you the details. There you go, made in Italy, Airplast Milano, 1/200th scale Boeing 747. So yeah, these were inexpensive giveaways, and I guess for travel agencies and people that were friends of the airline. I don't think Lufthansa actually sold these in stores or on board. It was just more of a promotional marketing item. But this company, Airplast of Milan, they were in business for many decades. They're not in business anymore. I think they went out of business maybe sometime in the 1990s. They would never, I tried contacting them back in the 80s and 90s as a private individual, asking if they would sell me models, and they absolutely would not entertain the sale of their models to people that weren't airlines. They were very, very strict in that regard, as was another company, Fratelli Cesana, which was another Italian company. They would not have anything to do with you unless you were actually an airline. So, but as you can see, this is injected plastic. The wings and fuselage are one-piece injected plastic. Well, you can see where the mold line is. You can see where the mold line cuts down there, and then the wings or the engines were simply glued onto the wing, and it would go on a little metal tripod. And I mean, it's not an inaccurate model, but it's just not as accurate as the Pac-Man models. And these were obviously cheaper than the Pac-Man models or the Space Models. And Lufthansa ordered these, as I say, in quite large quantities, and not expensive. It's not an expensive model. They're easy enough to find, but again, can you find one in pretty decent shape? That always is the challenge here in finding these models. But this one's quite nice. I mean, look, the engines are really accurate. You know, for 747, the original engines, quite an accurate model. The nose bump, the hump on the nose there is quite accurate. But yeah, you can see the mold release line there dropping down from the R2 door to the wing join. So that's where they molded them, or you know, where the mold release line comes up there on the trailing. You can see that as well. So there you go. That's kind of a neat one as well. A few models just to wrap things up. They're not really travel agency models, but I really do like them. These were made in the 1980s. They're 1/200 scale Herpa premium models, and they were very expensive in the day. I think they were in the region of at least maybe $200 US, circa mid-1980s, like late 1980s. But they're very, very accurate. I really can't turn this one around too. Well, there you go. It's just hard for me to film it. And well, maybe let's see if I can put it down on the ground here, and then I can do a walk around. There you go. So this side, starboard side, has a bit of yellowing on it, but as we come around to the other side,
less yellowing. These models were prone to yellowing. They're kind of readily available to find. Not too difficult to find. Prices vary depending on who the seller is. And if you're persistent, you can wait for a fair deal, I would say. Here's it. Just doing a bit of a close-up here for you to show you the model. But they were certainly very well made and well engineered for their day. And I'd like to have all in my collection. I've only got a few of these, actually, as you'll see. I've got the 727, which you can see here.
I also have the A310.
These are 1/200 scale. So 1/200 to 1/200 scale. Same scale as the small 747 models that I just showed you. But look at the accuracy on them. They're really accurate. But again, they are prone to yellowing. You can see I've got some yellowing happening on the gray there, I think. At least the white isn't graying too much. Here's the other side of the model. Let's take it in to give you a little bit of the detail on it. It's quite neat. Super accurate model. The windows are actually clear, which is
steady as I can. But yeah, even the well, maybe not on this one. Some of them, the fuselage windows. Oh yeah, these have clear fuselage windows as well. I think, or maybe not. Maybe some of them have clear. Definitely the cockpit is clear. But on this particular one, the fuselage windows are painted. But some of the aircraft have clear fuselage windows. So, but highly, highly accurate. And again, these were made in partnership with Lufthansa. You could purchase them at the Lufthansa shop in Frankfurt Airport and other airport shops in Germany. And they were also available, I believe, through the Lufthansa in-flight magazines. They had advertisings promoting these models. Super nice. 727 here. I just wanted to show you the fuselage windows, that they are, in fact, clear. On the A310 they weren't, but on this one you can actually see the light coming through, and of course there's the cockpit clear window as well. So, but you can just appreciate the high detail finish on these models. Just wanted to show you that. So nice. Very, very cool models. To wrap things up, in the same series, this is the 737-300. The windows, let's have a look. The fuselage windows are clear. I think you can see that, actually. You can see the reflection there. And of course the cockpit as well. But yes, very, very nice model. Great wing surface. The undersides are fantastic. So these are 1/200 scale. This one's in nice shape. There's no yellowing of the top side or the underside. So as I say, very often on these models, if they've been stored for years in front of a window, the ultraviolet will fade the models to a very ugly yellow. And this particular model has not been affected by that. And it's in really nice condition. So yes, this is the Lufthansa 737-300. And I think they made this model with a few different registrations. And just very, very nice model, super nice. They also made the 747-400 in this series. I've owned those in the past and had an accident with one of my models, and it fell and basically went into a million pieces. So that was the end of it. So these are very fragile. If you drop them, they will go to many, many pieces. Engine pylons will break, and if they split open, I'd say they're non-repairable. Anyhow, I don't have the skill to repair them, let's put it that way. So, and they are numbered, I believe. Yeah, well, you can see the LH, this one is number 2283. So you know they made at least 2,283 of these. But what a nice model. It's a nice model to have in the collection. And as I say, it's not an airline display model, but it is something that was made for Lufthansa, the company. And that's why I include these models in this video. The last model for me to share with you guys in this tour of Lufthansa models is this fabulous all-metal Verkuyl 747. It dates from 1970. And I've seen a few of these over the years, and this is perhaps one of the nicest ones. So I'll give you a tour of the model now. Yeah, so these models were made by Verkuyl, I would suspect, in the period of 1969 to 1971, when Lufthansa took delivery of their earliest 747s. And the model is made of metal, as you can see. The whole thing is metal, cast aluminum, very durable model, quite accurate. Just like all of Verkuyl models, they're quite accurate pieces. Not perfect. There's obviously some little abrasions, but these models, because of their size and their heft, they do attract bumps and nicks. Again, the model's quite old, dating from 1970. That puts at about 55 years of age. So there, we do have some yellowing and, there's some marks on the wings. But again, overall, the condition of the model is quite acceptable for its 55 years of age. I think these were made in quite large numbers. I'm thinking that probably Lufthansa ordered one of these for every one of their international ticket agencies and representative offices around the world, kind of like the Boeing 707. So not a super rare model, but it's just kind of hard to find. I don't know where they've all gone. Maybe they made 50 of them, 75 of them, or 100. But, here we are in the year 2025, and it's just not an easy model to get your hands on. In terms of which other airlines would have been ordering this model from Verkuyl back in the day, it's my understanding that the model was also made for KLM, although I've never seen one with my own eyes. But that would be a rare model. Maybe they made less of them for KLM than they made for Lufthansa. As I say, I've seen a few of these Lufthansas, but I've never once seen a KLM with my bare eyes. So definitely a rarer model. Look at that. Isn't that a nice line on this? Looks really, really good. Look at the detail work on the cargo doors there. Yeah, that's engraved, and as is the flap tracks. Again, we've got some repaired engine there, but you have to live with it. Maybe one day I can fix that, putty it, and repaint it. That can be on my to-do list. But overall, the model has no major damage on it, no major bangs or knocks. There's no major paint chips or otherwise unsightly damage. So it's a model that I'm quite happy to own for many, many years. And yeah, I like the 747. It's a good classic airliner. This model is probably 15 years in my collection now. I think I picked it up at a Frankfurt Aviation Convention at Schwanheim. 15 years ago, maybe 10 or 15 years ago. And they're just really nice models. So happy to have it in the collection. Really appreciate your watching this video, and I really look forward to seeing your comments in the comments section below. Please don't hesitate to take just a minute and leave your comments. If you have any models that you'd like to sell, don't hesitate to send me an email. My email is shown right now on the screen. It's henrytenby@gmail.com, and I would be very interested in hearing what models you might happen to have for sale. Thanks for watching the video. At the very least, if you could hit the thumbs up button, that would help me out. I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now. Hi there, my name is Henry Tenby, and I'd like to tell you about my brand new book. It's called From Lodestars to Jets, and it's the most image-heavy, comprehensive, it's the most extensive history on Air Canada, Trans-Canada Airlines that has ever been published in the annals of aviation history. The book is absolutely loaded with images that many of which have never been seen before. Let's have a look at the pages, and then you can decide if this book deserves a spot on your bookshelf. I'm going to give you a little bit of a tour of the book. Isn't that gorgeous? It is printed on 105 GSM paper, so it's super high quality paper. It is absolutely loaded with images. As I say, there are approximately 600 images, just under 300 pages. Many of these images have never been seen before, and the stories that are within these pages, many of them have long been forgotten, and it is information that is absolutely fascinating relating to engineering and fleet planning and fleet development issues at Trans-Canada Airlines. Look at that Viscount wing structure design, feathering system. We've got a section on the Bristol Freighter, some face changes around TCA engineering,
and then sections on the Connie. Models make moolah, of course, for you aircraft model fans. Whole sections on the Connie North Star. There we go. Engineering Department, 1950. Fabulous shot taken at, where's this? Cartierville. Absolutely gorgeous. And this will take you back to the good old days of Trans-Canada Airlines. As I say, I believe this is the most comprehensive history on Trans-Canada, Avro jetliner, that's right. Trans-Canada Airlines was instrumental in the development of this aircraft. Of course, up to the jet age, the introduction of service to the DC-8s, and other airplanes that were considered by TCA at the time. This is not the same old Air Canada history that we've seen many times over the decades. This is all brand new information, brand new stories. I've posted a link in the upper right-hand corner of this video that'll take you to the book information and order page. Also, I should point out that time is of the essence. Limited production on these books. Once they're sold out, they're probably sold out forever. And I hope you will enjoy the book as much as I enjoyed putting it together. Thank you very much.